ladies and gents, I think what we need to do, panel, Paulie, Tom, is talk about Ezra Miller. We need to talk about Ezra Miller. So, this is a saga, isn't it? A saga and a half. Are you guys familiar with the Ezra Miller saga or not?
More than I want to be. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, likewise. Likewise, I've been covering it incessantly here on my channel. But it has been quite a saga. It's quite an interesting saga to follow.
Well, they finally found a way to cancel him. They did a DNA test, and he is in fact a Latinx, so he's out.
Ah, that's it. Bin off all the Latinx people. Why not?
Yeah, all that bad behavior. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, ridiculous. So this is a recent development. Essentially, he's now So essentially, he's being eyed to be replaced.
Yeah, I don't think that's recent. I've been hearing about them replacing him since way back when.
So I've heard there's the potential for it, but it's going to be incredibly difficult. And I think the linchpin behind that now is the fact that not that he'll serve it, but he's facing a 26-year felony charge. And I think that's what's caused it. Sorry, Tom, you tell me what you've heard whilst I piss around my eye.
Prior to this, they were looking at, I can't remember the kid's name, but he was in Teen Wolf, and then I think Doug McKay was the other kid they were looking at, and there was a few people that they had in mind, and I had been told there was one kid that they had already signed on for the future. They were going to try and get this movie out there with Ezra so they didn't have to reshoot it, because of course that would cost $200 million to do. But yeah, I don't know who this is. Oh, is this George McKay? Okay, here we go. Yeah, this was the other day, but then so this is probably one of the front runners, pun intended. But this is something that's been in the works for a while. I know they were trying to work with him, but from what I had heard is that he slapped their hand away when they offered him the help, but he did end up having a meeting with them. So supposedly he's getting help on his own terms. But yeah, with all this stuff, yeah, but with all this crap looming over his head, I'm sure Warner just wants to wash their hands of him at this point. And before this, they were already looking to do that. It was just they were looking at look, everybody knows the Flash is done already. We're just gonna have to take the lump on that one and go forward without him. So they already kind of knew that, but this really kind of pretty much puts a pin in it at this point. They've got to do something. They can't sit here and just ignore it forever.
Well, I think we'll just cover this real quick. So this is the chap that they're considering to replace.
Oddly enough, I didn't even know this was making the rounds already.
Yeah, so it's come from 2 individuals now in terms of being publicly released. And this is George McKay. 1917. Did you watch that film? Because I did. And I thought it was a really good film. Good film.
I have it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Fantastic film. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah. And so did I. Great place to watch it. So he's a good actor. I like him. And so this is doing the rounds from 2 people. One being our epic friend over at Beyond the Trailer, Grace Randolph, who I didn't take hugely with as a credible one for this one, particularly at that point. But then there's other people. So My Time to Shine, Hello, dropped it as well. So as I hear, they have a shortlist in place with McKay at the top.
You can add me to it now too, I guess.
And yourself, yeah, exactly. And so the only decision they'll make after the Flash arrives is which actor will be the one to replace Ezra. So it doesn't look like... again, this is the Flash film news. Says Warner Brothers won't be making any casting decisions until after the Flash arrives in theaters, despite George McKay rumors. Is that what you heard, Tom?
Yeah, kind of. Basically, they already knew they were going to replace him after this. So, but now, and I'd heard before that they were toying with the idea of replacing him in the film itself, because it really wouldn't be as big a difficult feat as people think it is. Because the guy I talked to, who kind of works close to special effects, let's say, he flat out said, you got to remember, all these are shot in front of green screen anyway. 9 times out of 10, most of the actors aren't even in the same shot. And
Oh, you
so
know what? Yeah, you're kind of right there, I guess.
to replace him would not be as, it would cost some money, it would take some time, it would take some effort, but you wouldn't necessarily have to call all the actors back for everything, maybe a few shots, and they're already in the midst of reshoots anyway. So like if they're gonna do it, they're gonna have to do it now. But I think they're still gonna try to release it with him in it. That was the last I was hearing, was that was their hope anyway, because they do not want to spend the money on it.
Well, yeah, it's like $200 million already, isn't it? With essentially a felon,
at least,
you know, facing felony charges. So, for those that don't know, ladies and gents, I mean, Ezra Miller. Oh, Ezra Miller. Wow. Okay, what a saga. So, Iceland was the first sort of public displays in Iceland, Reykjavik, Iceland, shooting Fantastic Beasts 2. He choke slammed a woman, and it was caught on camera. No one really made a big song and dance about that at the time. Most mainstream media outlets kind of left it alone. But from then, it has absolutely snowballed. So there are charges of grooming 12-year-olds, multiple, so plural. There are charges of like child protective services, because he's housing people at his sort of like farm estate. Children as young as like, I think it's like a 1 or a 3-year-old, between a 1 and 3-year-old, with like bullet casings in its mouth were spotted. And now there was other sort of, these are not charges, sorry, these are all anecdotal, but they're coming to light more and more. And this is what I mean by just absolutely spiraling out of control. People in Germany. And then there was the reports and him being arrested in Hawaii. He threw a chair at a woman's head, split her skull open. So, you know, pretty severe, not a small thing. He got arrested in like a karaoke bar. That was all caught on TMZ. They got the body cam footage. What else? Oh, so the current one, the 2016. This is what I mean. There's just so much, ladies and gents. The current one is a felony charge, because felony burglary, because he broke into a neighbor's house and stole 3 bottles of liquor, which is all caught on CCTV, and he's pleading not guilty, even though there's footage of it all.
I think it's more severe because it's a controlled substance, basically, is what he stole. I think is the bigger deal from what I could figure. So I'm like, why is it a felony? Why would it be any different than any other breaking in and entering, which is usually like a misdemeanor? Because it's an alcoholic beverage, and he took it probably out of the house, and it was an open. There's probably a bunch of things we piled onto it, is what I'm thinking. Yeah, so I'm thinking that's because I was like, because at first I'm like, why would they charge him with a felony anyway? But then his lawyer, I think, is playing the long game on this one, because even though he's on camera and all that shit doing it, he'll do a plea. And the max is 26 years. Well, not just that. They'll plead it down to like probably like 2 or 3 years probation and an X amount for a fine. And the other problem you have here is a lot of these other ones have dropped the charges. Like all the ones that are outside of the US, they just were just happy to get rid of him.
Well, so there's still one going on inside the US, but it's not. So it's the Native American tribe court, isn't it? Where they've got an injunction out.
Well, there's one more investigation still going on, and I think that's the thing, because you got this deal that he's facing right now, which is a felony, because that's a big deal. And then the other thing he's facing is he's still under investigation from Child Protective Services in Vermont. I haven't heard anything on that yet.
Was that him though, or was it simply the
since he's the owner of the property
at his property?
I don't know. I'm assuming he'd be held responsible since it's his property.
Yeah, true. So yeah, this is the ins and outs of this are a little bit. You know, I've lived in the States and I've been there a little while, but
I'm also not a lawyer, so take that into consideration.
Obviously, ladies and gents watching this, we're a little bit. You know, some of this is speculation on top of what he's been charged with, but the felony burglary is something which has happened. You know, he
usually to get a felony burglary, under my understanding, it generally has to be some kind of like aggravated situation, like you actually have a weapon or there's some type of physical situation.
Well, so apparently he broke in and they told him, you need to leave, and he sort of milled around. Basically, I think it was a very much
I don't know. It could just be Vermont's law too. Once you if you have to actually break into a door, maybe it becomes a felony or something like that. I don't know. The laws are different in every state. That's the other problem.
But the crux of it is, he's facing. Well, he won't go to prison. We know that. Obviously, Hollywood privilege, or should we call it pronoun privilege now, I guess.
Well, the only other thing is he broke into those other people's places before. I think they dropped the charges, but I don't know if they'll still bring that up as a point. So this wouldn't technically be the first time he's broke into some place.
I don't know whether you can, though, because if they drop the charges...
That's what I mean. Again, I don't know how the statute is on that because I'm not a freaking lawyer, but yeah.
Yeah, true. Very, very true. But yeah, so he's probably not going to go to prison, obviously, but he's facing pretty serious repercussions for this. And so as a result, I think this is what spurred these. I mean, it was literally only yesterday that came to light, that he pleaded not guilty and could face 26 years. And then now it comes out today, well, there's a shortlist. He's going to be replaced. It seems very calculated for Warner Brothers to attempt to start the distance. I don't know if you guys...
Well, that's the thing, is they've been keeping quiet about it. If you remember, about 2 months ago was when the leak that they were supposedly talking to the kid from Teen Wolf TV show. And they were quick to come out and say, oh, no, we're not replacing him. They didn't say anything else other than that, though. It's like, yeah, well, I'm hearing otherwise. And then, of course, this comes out. So, like, for them to even have a short list, that means they've already thought about it. That's what I'm getting at. Like, you don't just come up with a short list overnight.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Paulie, what would you think about George McKay replacing Ezra Miller?
Well, first of all, I was kind of joking about Ezra being a Latino, but with that rap sheet, I don't know what. Oh, is that race? Oh, I just canceled myself.
You don't got enough speeding tickets, Paulie.
Dear.
I mean, what kind of privilege? What kind of privilege does Ezra have, man? This is a Hamada privilege. It's a Weinstein privilege. It's a Hollywood privilege. It's pronoun privilege. Bad wig hair day privilege. I mean, insane. Yeah. This is a done deal, man. They got rid of Hamada. Getting rid of this guy, George McKay. Honestly, I don't know. I thought all the actors in 1917 were incredible. I just don't know which role he was in. But if he was the lead, I mean, forget about it. I mean, all those guys were great actors.
He was. Well, it was a twin lead until one of them died, wasn't it? Because it was following both their stories until then it was him. He sort of continued it on. So he's the quintessential lead, I guess, of that film.
Yeah,
I think he's a great actor. Do I see him in that role? I don't know. But I mean, because he's a good actor, he'll elevate the character, the role. He'll bring something new to. I mean, he's fucking better than Ezra Miller, that's for sure. That guy can't.
I was gonna say anybody.
That's the thing. Was this guy ever good in anything?
No,
Ezra.
Well, no. People
really.
like him in. People like him in. We need to talk about Kevin, but at this rate, he's literally been playing himself.
That's the rumor.
Yeah. Weird, man.
And not only that, he supposedly went overboard on the stand as well, from what we heard, and that was out in the public. That they had to actually have interventions right on the set. Yeah, because he went completely apeshit on.
Yeah, he had meltdowns, like screaming and stuff like that, didn't he?
Yeah, he was playing the fireman, and he was trying, or whatever you call him in the movie, and they're like, "Oh, well, that he's just method acting or whatever." It's like, no, this kid's got some fucking issues.
Yeah. And I think it's important to kind of take a step back from this whole situation, as I've done in other videos, is that, Warner Brothers are massively to blame for this as well, because you're enabling someone that's clearly unwell. He's mentally unwell. And they really should have took a step back. They should never have pushed.
Well, I heard Hamada was protecting him for the longest time too, him and Sarnoff and some of the others that were there. They were protecting him all this time.
He's not good enough to protect, is he? Like, why would you do that?
At the same time, they put themselves on the line, but now that they're out the door, there's nothing to gain from standing behind this kid anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
I want some of that.
So I mean, that's the predominant thing. George McKay and the sort of shortlist and things like that.